Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you, this time talking episode 7 of season 2 of Legends of Tomorrow called Invasion, and this is the conclusion to the epic CW crossover Heroes versus Aliens. And I mean it's fantastic. This is everything I think we could have ever asked for from the CW anymore. I mean, if only the movies from DC recently had been like this. I mean, this if you put this in the theaters instead of Batman versus Superman, I think it would have done even better. But I've already expressed my thoughts on Batman versus Superman, so we're just gonna let that go. Oh wow, my hair looks absolutely terrible today. Oh well. Let's kind of get right into things. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here in terms of the characters, and of course, lots of really great action. I gotta say, the action sequences, the special effects. I mean, for TV and especially the CW, this is great stuff. I especially really loved the work they've done with the Dominators. It's just been great. And of course, the epic superhero throwdown at the end, so damn good. But anyway, character stuff. For no discernible reason, Thea decides to leave and go back to Star City. Yeah, that makes no sense whatsoever. The thing that really jumped out at me, one of the things that really jumped out at me was the conversation that Oliver and Kara have. And Oliver's whole like, look, you make me uncomfortable, and when I feel like this, I push back. I know it makes me a dick, but that's just how I am. So yeah, you most powerful being on the planet, who is our ally, go sit the bench. Which of course is immensely stupid on Oliver's part. It really illustrates why the sort of I play by my own rules kind of characters are really kind of dumb. Situations like this just make them seem like whiny babies who have to always have their own way. Now, to Oliver's credit, he realizes he's being kind of a dick here. But still, Oliver, it's sort of like, you know what, you need to put your own feelings aside because aliens are coming to destroy the world. And to his credit, after it's all over, Oliver does apologize, and Kara, obviously by the end of it, seems to have put this aside. Although you can tell she is seriously steamed, and she has every right to be. The other really great thing in terms of characters this episode, of course, was what was going on with Cisco. I mean, he was really in a situation where it was pretty much impossible to imagine any sort of circumstances where he would be able to forgive Barry for what Barry had done in causing Flashpoint. But then Cisco is put in the exact same situation. He goes back in time, he tries to change something in the past, saving the Dominator, and for the best of reasons. He just didn't think that a fellow living being deserved to be tortured to death. And this, of course, comes around and bites him in the butt. And now, Dominators are going to not just try and kill all metahumans, but millions of ordinary humans and possibly the entire human race. So Cisco basically did exactly what Barry did, only the results of his mistake were infinitely worse. And his realization of that, his understanding is like, oh my god, I was just trying to do the right thing. I was just trying to help someone. And now look at what I've done. He realized exactly how Barry must feel. Cisco has that moment where he realizes, like, oh my god, I'd do anything to take this decision back, but I can't. And that's ultimately what leads him to realize that he needs to forgive Barry, because this is a mistake that anyone under these circumstances could have made. And I'm really glad of that. It was, I have to say, a very brilliant stroke on the part of the writers. It makes perfect sense. And it was not something I saw coming, but in retrospect, it's just like, yeah, of course, that is what would get Cisco to forgive Barry under these circumstances. We also get some nice stuff with Martin Stein having to deal with, like, oh my god, I have this daughter, and I know absolutely nothing about her. I mean, he probably didn't even know her name until Caitlin said it. And then he has to go, and he initially has this reaction like, she's a time aberration. I need to erase her from history. And which is why he doesn't want to get close to her. But of course, he ultimately comes around. So like, I just can't bring myself to erase my daughter from history, which makes him an enormous hypocrite in regards to him telling Sarah, like, yeah, you can't change history to save your sister. Now, of course, since he and Jax share the mind of Firestorm, he has to kind of come clean with Jax and say, like, look, man, I kind of want you to look the other way on this one. And Jax is clearly unhappy with, Stein's hypocrisy here, but I think he understands where Martin is coming from. So, of course, we all know how well things go when team members keep secrets from each other on these Arrowverse shows. And, of course, this is going to come to a head and blow up in everybody's face in a gloriously spectacular way. And I am seriously looking forward to seeing that happen. Interesting to mention that Lily is an expert on nanotechnology. It would really be interesting to see her and Ray kind of interact, and it would be even more hilarious if she and Ray kind of developed an attraction to each other, which would be an absolutely great way to put a bug up Stein's ass. That would be hilarious. Let's see. One thing that I did have to say is when going over to what happened back in the 50s. Okay, first of all, awesome shout out to one of the great episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation from Felicity, Darmok, which, if you've never seen, is one of the most memorable episodes of Next Gen, and I don't want to spoil it any more than that. Just seriously, go watch the Next Gen episode, Darmok. It's great. I mean, in my book, it ranks up there with like The Inner Light, and of course, Best of Both Worlds as some of the best storytelling that Next Gen ever did. I mean, there are some flaws with that episode. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's a good story, and you'll see why it's very memorable to Next Gen fans. We also got some nice nods to some other stuff, and I love Cisco did a mention of Stranger Things. That was great, because Stranger Things was really enjoyable, and you can even check out my review of that if you are willing to poke around on the good old YouTube. I wasn't too impressed with this whole Agent Smith character. I mean, when they even said his name, it's like, really, Agent Smith? I mean, is it 1999 and we're doing references to the Matrix here again? I mean, Smith is probably not his actual name, but still. And what's even more hilarious is that we see this guy years later in modern times, and we also get to see him back in the 50s, when this guy would have to be like 90-something years old. And they're at the end of it, they're like, oh yeah, I've talked to the president, she thinks it would be a great idea to reassign you to Antarctica. Okay, this guy's at least in his 90s. If he doesn't want to go to Antarctica, he'll just say screw it and retire and go sit on a beach in Florida. So, yeah. The idea that Supergirl's suggestion to the president, I was so disappointed. I really thought it would have been awesome if they'd been able to get Linda Carter to come on here and be the president, and say, yeah, on Earth 38 she's the president, on Earth 1 she was the vice president. That would have been so cool. I mean, just having Linda Carter here with Supergirl and Martian Manhunter was great enough, but having her with all the other characters, that would have just been fantastic beyond words. Then again, who's to say that she doesn't have a counterpart on Earth 1 anyway, so we might see that. On one world she's the president, in Earth 1 she could be someone else. That would be cool. Earth 2, Beyonce is a senator, so why not, right? Anyway, let's see, what else do we need to talk about? I want to talk briefly about the whole thing with Citizen Steel and Vixen, the drugs dampening their power. Now, okay, with Steel I can kind of see it, but Vixen's powers come from magic. How in the world is, some drug, which interfering with her ability to use magic, and also causing no other noticeable side effects on them other than that they can't use their powers? That's dumb. That is just dumb. Let's see. What else? Again, I have said that the fight with the aliens at the end, great stuff. Wonderful stuff with Barry being willing to sacrifice himself to the Dominators because Barry's that kind of guy. Barry is pretty much unquestionably the most noble of the heroes on Earth 1. It would be really awesome to see him and like Earth 38 Superman meet up because Barry and Clark are guys who are cut from very similar cloth. They both have that very Midwestern wholesomeness to them. Let's see, what else? I really did like that speech that the president gave, thanking the heroes for saving the day. The thing is, though, who were the people in the audience? I mean, seriously, who were those people that she was explaining to? Like, yeah, these guys saved the day, but we can't tell people about it. I mean, there were aliens attacking all over the world. There was a giant UFO flying over Central City. There's no way the government is covering this up. That would take the cooperation of all the governments of the entire world. And again, giant alien spaceship floating over a major city, aliens attacking all over the world. Yeah, this makes no sense. And so seriously, why not just say, oh yeah, these people with powers help save the world? I mean, what in the world's story are they going to spin? I mean, Firestorm turned the giant bomb into water over Central City. I mean, there had to be God only knows how many people pointing their cell phones at this situation. Sorry, I got a hair on my face. I hate it when that happens. Okay. Although I have to say that when I saw this in the previews, I thought this was like some sort of press conference that was like being broadcast all over the world. Also, note the past tense of broadcast is broadcast. Was broadcast, will be broadcast. I've been hearing people, even on like the radio, saying broadcasted. And that just drives me nuts. Yeah, that was going to be something that was like a TV press conference. I'm like thinking if this is being beamed all over the world, aren't people going to be going like, hey, that's Jax Jackson. I went to that guy. Or like, hey, isn't that Captain Lance's daughter Sarah? I mean, that's not how it turned out, but that's what I was thinking. And yeah, again, why not give the heroes credit for this? I mean, again, it doesn't really make sense. And how in the world is this government going to explain this otherwise? The wrap up of it all was really nice. Barry, Oliver, and Kara sort of ruminating about how great it is to save the world. Brandon Roth having that moment where he says, Kara in her civilian clothes, which she has no reason to be wearing on Earth 1, goes, oh, she looks like my cousin. And obviously this is a little bit of a nod to him having played Superman in the past, and probably their way of pointing out that civilian Kara looks more than a little bit like Felicity. That would be so awesome to actually, if Felicity could go to Earth 38 and just sort of have people take a look at her and Kara and her civilian identity and go are you two related or anything like that? Or even better, maybe having her meet Clark Kent. That would be fantastic. So yeah, I totally hope that they are able to bring on the fellow they have playing Superman on Supergirl onto the other CW shows at some point. Just because, I mean, it's Superman, right? And Superman is basically always considered to be the leader of the superhuman community in the DC universe. He doesn't particularly relish that role. He's even stated that he doesn't really like the idea of being the leader of the Justice League. And there's this really great story from the comics years ago where the Justice League had just formed and Superman had agreed to join. And he was thinking oh man, this is going to be so cool. I'm going to be around other people with powers like me. I can kind of just sort of chill out, and we're all going to kind of be peers and stuff. He shows up to the first meeting, and the Flash is like, "Oh, Superman, you were the coolest dude ever. Can I have your autograph?" And he's just like, "Oh God, even other superheroes are going to be idealizing me and treating me like I'm something greater than I am." Which, I mean, they ultimately worked out. Still, that was a really interesting kind of moment for Superman. Now, we also get to see Kara get the little doodad that'll allow her to travel back and forth between the various Earths. And in fact, I think it's even been said that the Flash is going to be popping up, interacting with her again later this season. I am very much looking forward to that. And everything about this with this crossover in terms of ratings has been huge. So they're going to do this again next year if it's at all humanly possible. And it just sort of makes you wonder, well, what storyline are they going to do? And of course, the DC has had numerous crossovers that affected their entire universe, and that they could do in this regard. And it would be really interesting to see what they do. If they really kind of flesh out the use of magic in the CW verse, it would be really, really great if they did a story, Underworld Unleashed. I mean, that would be a perfect opportunity to bring in John Constantine, because he'd be a perfect fit for that. And also, Underworld Unleashed was just a great story. I imagine something like Millennium would probably not go over so well, or maybe Armageddon 2000, some sort of a twist on that would be really cool. But we'll have to wait and see. So, while not without its flaws, this was a really good episode of Legends of Tomorrow, and just this whole invasion storyline itself in general was fantastic. I loved it. This is easily one of the best hours of live action. This is one of the best live action superhero stories ever done. And, oh man, we are just so lucky to do it in such a day and age, I gotta say. Okay, guys, with that, I'm going to call it here. As always, please comment, rate, subscribe, and of course, you can follow me on Twitter at HooterJedi, and please also join me on Tumblr at Jedi Reviewer. Until next time, take care and have a good one.